Today we're making chocolate peanut butter eggs 4 ways. They're gluten-free, dairy-free, refined sugar-free, vegan, and can easily be made low-carb friendly. Make all 4 kinds for a fun assortment or just make your favorite. So first up is our almond version of Reese's. We are going to start with 2 tablespoons of nut butter. It's 32 grams if you want to weigh it instead. We want a natural creamy nut butter. The ingredients should just be whatever nut it is, plus maybe some salt. Then to this, we're going to add 6 tablespoons of almond flour, which is 37 grams if you want to weigh it instead. And then 2 tablespoons or 30 grams of maple syrup. Or if you want to make this sugar-free or low carb, you can use a sugar-free sweetener instead. Pinch of salt, and then we're just going to mix this up. This is really easy to mix. You don't need a mixer, just do it by hand until it comes together. Now your final texture is going to vary a little depending on your nut butter. So if it's a little too wet or runny, you can add a little bit more of whatever flour you're adding. So in this case, it's the almond flour, or you can pop it in the fridge or freezer and that will also firm it up and make it easier to handle. But ours is good to go. So I'm going to move the scale out of the way, get some parchment paper, and now we're just going to eyeball this and split it up into 6 or 7 little portions. I'm going to start by just making them into rough balls, and then we'll go back and we'll shape them into eggs. And then we're just going to shape them kind of like we were playing with Play-Doh. We're going to squish it a little flat, and then we're going to make a pointed end for the top of your egg. And when you're happy with the shape of the first one, go on and repeat that with the rest of them. I think this would also be a really great thing for kids to help with. And then I like to pop these in the freezer just so they firm up while we melt our chocolate. I've got 1 cup of dark chocolate with 1 teaspoon of coconut oil melted in. Once you got your chocolate all nicely melted and smooth, grab your eggs from the freezer and then we're gonna dip them. I love to use forks. You'll see I always use forks for dipping. I really like how the excess chocolate can kind of drip off between the tines. And then I also wipe it on the side of the dipping bowl. This gets the extra chocolate off before we move it over to our parchment. And then just repeat with all your eggs till they're nicely dipped. And then we're gonna pop them back in the freezer again just to get our chocolate outside to set. And we're gonna add a little bit of decoration to these eggs. So grab a Ziploc bag or a piping bag, and I really like to put it inside a glass or a jar for it to hold while I'm pouring the chocolate. It makes it a lot easier. And then we're just gonna snip off a teeny little bit of the corner. Remember, you can always cut a bigger hole later. You'll see actually I cut this way too small and then I go back and cut it bigger. I'm just gonna do a simple back and forth zigzag on the eggs, and then we'll make all the other ones a little different just so we can tell them all apart. And pop that back in the fridge to set while we work on number 2, our coconut version of our Reese's. So we're gonna start with our nut butter again, but this time we're gonna use a little bit more because coconut flour is very absorbent. So we're gonna use a 1/4 cup of nut butter, and then we're gonna add a 1/4 cup or 28 grams of coconut flour, 2 tablespoons of maple syrup, and our pinch of salt. And then we're gonna mix this up. Now your consistency may vary based on your coconut flour brand. This one is by Viva Naturals. I find it's very, very absorbent, whereas other ones I've had in the past are not very absorbent, so you have to use a little bit more. So if you find it's on the runnier side, go ahead and add a little bit more coconut flour. But ours looks great, so we're going to grab another sheet of parchment paper and we're going to divide this up. I ended up making 7 with the rest of these recipes, but because this is a no-bake dessert, you can basically make these whatever size you like. If you want to make them smaller and have more of them, or if you want to make them larger, go right ahead. And now that we've got them divided up, we're going to start to shape them. These ones, I just rounded into a ball and then I flattened them a little bit just so that we could tell them apart from the first recipe. You can go ahead and chill these for a little bit, but I found that because they were coconut flour, they were actually ready to dip right away. Then we're just gonna dip them like we did before using 2 forks, scraping off the excess. And And we'll pop them in the freezer just so the outside sets, and then we can drizzle them just like the first ones. And I'm also going to sprinkle these guys with some sprinkles. I've got some naturally colored organic sprinkles from Let's Do Organic, but you can use whatever sprinkles you have, or maybe some crushed nuts, whatever you like. It adds a fun decoration and also helps you tell them apart. We're on to number 3, our Butterfinger version. So the Butterfingers has that extra crunch, and to get that, we're gonna use some cornflakes. I've got some pear juice sweetened organic cornflakes here. I'm gonna take a half cup of these, and we're gonna stick them in a Ziploc bag, and then we're gonna hit them with a rolling pin to crush them up. You can hit them with a rolling pin, or you can roll the rolling pin over. You can also bust out your food processor and give it a blitz in there, or you can use a knife and chop them up. But I find the Ziploc bag hack to be pretty quick and a nice, easy cleanup. Now that we've got our cornflakes smashed, we're gonna get our scale and our bowl again, and we're gonna do a 1/4 cup or 64 grams of nut butter. Add in your cornflakes, and then 2 tablespoons of maple syrup and our pinch of salt. Then we're gonna give this one a mix, and then I like to pop this one in the fridge or freezer for a little bit for it to firm up. Because there's no flour in here, it's the cornflakes, it is a much stickier filling, so a little bit of chill time will make this a lot easier to handle. We're gonna divide this one up into 7 portions. Then chill them for a little bit, and then we're gonna dip them. Now these ones, because they have the cornflakes, they're gonna have a bit of a rough texture on the outside once you've dipped them, but it adds a different element here, and then you can also tell them apart from your other flavors. Let's chill these guys for a minute, and then we're gonna pull them out, and we're gonna add our chocolate drizzle decoration. Now we can tell these ones apart from the last one because they have the cornflake texture, and we're not gonna put sprinkles on these ones. And last but not least, our protein version. I have to say this was my favorite, though I do like them all for different reasons. For this one, we're going to do a 1/4 cup of nut butter again, the 64 grams. Then we're gonna add a 1/4 cup of our protein powder of choice. I'm using an unsweetened one here just to show you that it's gonna work that way, but feel free to use your favorite flavor. Just be aware it's gonna change your flavor profile of your eggs. And our 2 tablespoons of maple syrup and our pinch of salt, and then we're gonna give this a mix. Because protein powder is so absorbent, it behaves very much like the coconut flour version. It was super easy to handle and shape without having to chill it first. I divided this one into 7 again, and then I shaped them into egg shapes, just like our first batch, but this one we're gonna go back and drizzle and then add our sprinkles. And then we'll know that egg-shaped plus sprinkles is protein. Egg-shaped without sprinkles is our almond flour version. After you've drizzled and sprinkled, then chill those till they're set, and then dig in and enjoy. You can make all 4 of these, so you can have a variety pack, or you can just make your favorite. This one here is our almond filling. This one is our coconut flour filling, our Butterfingers with the crunchy cornflakes, and last but not least, the protein powder version. Then I mix them all up to a variety pack to bring home. While I can tell them apart, it's a surprise to everybody else. These are so good.